Australia is getting a Star Wars festival. In a drought-ravaged rural community far, far away, locals are proving they're a force to be reckoned with by launching a Star Wars-themed festival in Coonabarabran, Australia's astronomy capital. There were quite a few people passionate about Star Wars, and we were looking at connecting with astronomy events because we have Australia's first dark sky park right next door. We have Starfest, but it's more for the sciencey people. But we felt this is another way to draw in tourists and add a fun dimension, even if it's still a bit geeky. The organizing committee was unable to use Star Wars in the title despite reaching out for permission, but have come up with a creative name. We're calling it the Dark Sky Awakens Festival, and it'll be the weekend after May the 4th because that's a Monday this year. As usual, Disney doesn't like to support anything Star Wars unless it's something they're profiting from. Planning is traveling as fast as hyperspace, with tickets already open for a number of events. Coonabarabran has been severely hit by drought, with emergency bores needed to supply water to the rural community of about 2,500 people. It is also challenged by a rural decline and controversial bypass that could impact the town's tourism. The town was at a point where you couldn't even use water in town. We've also got a bypass coming, which is something of a concern, and we've had a number of businesses closing down because they're just getting to retirement age, and getting young generation to step in is a bit tricky. Their hardships were a key factor in being chosen for the grant. Drought has been extensive, long-running, and really crippling. It doesn't finish as soon as it rains. It takes a long time to claw back for businesses operating at half capacity or less, and it takes years to get back up to full production. Seeing the community's Star Wars idea, it was clear the force is strong in this one. The event will be cleverly created to draw on the features Coonabarabran offers, like the Siding Springs Observatory. Events like this boost morale, bring people together, and provide an economic boost for their economy. So this is a really good thing that Star Wars as a culture can contribute to Australia's recent problems. Naturally, Disney as always isn't endorsing it or going to support it or even let them put Star Wars in the name, but Australia needs help, and it's just nice as an old school Star Wars fan to see the culture help people as it has so many times over the decades. Immersive interactive Star Wars exhibit opening on Las Vegas Strip. Dubbed Fan Strike Back, the new exhibit will be located inside Immersion Vegas at the Fashion Show Mall, 3200 South Las Vegas Boulevard. Fan Strike Back was created by a fan for the fans of the galaxy's most popular movie saga. The exhibit takes guests on a journey from the Resistance to the dark side, while displaying hundreds of unique collectible sculptures, life-size figures, lightsabers, blasters, and more. An exhibition unlike any other in the galaxy, the Fan Strike Back gives enthusiasts of the universe's most famous saga an up-close and personal look at one of the most extensive private collections found between planet Earth and Tatooine. The exhibit will feature a 16-foot Jabba the Hutt, engaging video installations, a 26-foot pod racer, a recreation of the Imperial I-Class Star Destroyer's main bridge, and legendary characters, including Chewbacca, Yoda, R2-D2, C-3PO, Darth Vader, and more. Fan Strike Back will be open Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Sunday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. The exhibit will open in March, although an exact opening date has not been set. Tickets are $29 plus applicable fees and $15 plus applicable fees for children 11 and under. Here's a short video about the exhibition. Let's take a look.
What makes very special this exhibition is that it's an exhibition made by a fan for fans. In this exhibition, we can see around 600 pieces made by me or friends, or other props made by fans, 200 articles, 1/6 scale pieces, more than 50 premium format sculptures, around 60 real-size suits, armors, see the armory with the most famous lightsabers, blasters, helmets, we can see masks. I wanted to show different atmospheres, so I took the main planets in each movie or trilogy. I think it's a very visual way to visit the universe of Star Wars. You can see here this Anakin's pod racer that I have behind me is brand new. And also, where else you can see a Jabba the Hutt painted in graffiti style. Very special, right?
Needless to say, that exhibit looks very cool. I really like the stuff that he has, and it's nice that a fan is doing that for other fans. I also appreciate that there's very little Disney junk in there, and it's real Star Wars. So if you're in Vegas, take a look. Philadelphia Flyers to host Star Wars Day on Saturday, March 14th. Arena giveaway, in-game programming, and costume characters take fans to a galaxy far, far away. On March 14th, 1 p.m., the Philadelphia Flyers will be facing off against the Minnesota Wild. It'll be a Star Wars Day with themed content and in-game surprises. They'll be giving away Star Wars posters illustrated by local artist Corey Danks. There'll be Star Wars characters around, including the 501st and Rebel Legion. Fans are also encouraged to dress up in their favorite Star Wars gear. That's kind of nice because in some movie premieres, they don't let you dress up as Star Wars characters, which is really strange. It's mostly for security, like people wearing masks, but have you ever heard of people wilding out and doing stuff at Star Wars events? I'm sure there's been a fight or two over the history of Star Wars, but it's just not something that happens. It's not like there's been issues at Star Wars events, so it's funny when people don't want you to dress up. I'm not personally a cosplayer or dress up, but I think if someone wants to, yeah, you should be able to dress up like your favorite Star Wars character. Star Wars enthusiasts can also purchase a special ticket package, which includes an exclusive Flyer-branded Star Wars t-shirt, also designed by Danks, that morphs together the Flyers logo and the Millennium Falcon. Additional tickets for the March 14 game are available now at PhiladelphiaFlyers.com. Themed food and beverage specials will also be available for purchase. The shirt is pretty cool. I have no idea what the tickets cost, but if you're interested and you live in the Philadelphia area or are going to that game, check it out. On the Flyers Twitter, they posted a video about the event. Let's take a quick look.
There's been an awakening. Have you felt it? The dark side and the light.
So there you go, a little fun Star Wars night at a hockey game. If you're interested, March 14th, 2020. In Dallas, Texas, there's a Star Wars-themed pop-up bar with drinks from another galaxy. Known for its annual Nightmare Before Christmas pop-up bar at Halloween, Ilminster Pub is nerding out to celebrate Disney's final installment of the Skywalker saga, The Rise of Skywalker. Every inch of the English-style pub has been decked out in classic movie memorabilia, right down to the bathrooms resembling the Death Star. There are ships hanging from the ceiling, including the Millennium Falcon and TIE fighters. The center stage features Darth Vader with some stormtroopers, and there's a DJ booth featuring Chewbacca. R2-D2 is also on the scene. There'll be numerous big screen TVs that will be playing the movies, both original and modern, on repeat. Along with the decor comes, of course, creative themed drinks. This is considered the Leia, which includes Patron, coffee liquor, vodka, and rumchata, and mini cinnamon bun cereal pieces on top to resemble the princess's iconic hairstyle. There is also a Baby Yoda cocktail made with vodka and green melon liqueur, and garnished with limes that serve as his ears. The hours are 5 p.m. to 12 a.m. Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. to 2 a.m. Friday, 12 p.m. to 2 a.m. Saturday, and 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. Sunday. They have a website and Facebook page if you want to check them out, and they are located at 2600 Cedar Springs Road, number 1, Dallas, Texas, 75201, US of A. The Ilminster Pub's Star Wars phase kicked into hyperdrive on Mardi Gras with Boba Fett-inspired drinks. It's Mardi Gras with a Star Wars twist at the Ilminster Pub, where fans celebrated Fett Tuesday. The name is a tongue-in-cheek nod to the popular bounty hunter Boba Fett. Pub owner Patrick Gorman concocted a drink in honor of the character, mixing tequila with orange boba beads, lime juice, lemon juice, and your choice of red or blue lightsaber straws. The pub, which recently adopted Game of Thrones and the Nightmare Before Christmas themes, launched the Star Wars Cantina February 14th. I grew up watching all the movies and I loved Star Wars growing up as a kid, Gorman said. The recent Star Wars movie coming out and The Mandalorian, Baby Yoda, it kind of made sense. The bar features a large Chewbacca figure in the DJ booth, a Millennium Falcon hanging from the ceiling, and dozens of posters, toys, figurines, and games throughout the space. There's just little stuff everywhere, Gorman said. You might come in one time and not even catch something. You might come in the next and see something you didn't see the first time. Here's a short video about the pub. Let's take a look.
It is Fete Tuesday at Ilminster Cantina today, and we are running a special on our Boba Fett cocktail. It is Avion SBBC Reposado, Aperol, lime juice, lemon juice, topped with a little of orange boba. We enjoy doing these pop-ups. Everything that we've done, we've all, been big fans of. Grew up watching all the movies, loved Star Wars growing up as a kid, and obviously now it's came back with the recent movie coming out and The Mandalorian and the Baby Yoda. It just kind of made sense. And everybody loves Darth and the Millennium Falcon right above me. And we've had a lot of good response so far about Star Wars before. Little stuff everywhere. You might come in one time and not even catch something, come back the next and see something that you didn't see the first time. So it's kind of just, little stuff everywhere. And I feel like we did a pretty good job with the decor.
Spring is right around the corner, and now you can celebrate with Darth Vader and TIE Fighter grills and fire pits. Star Wars fans can turn up the heat with an outdoor grill shaped like none other than the Dark Lord of the Sith himself, Darth Vader. The unique grill costs around $700. It also doubles as a fire pit. It's made by the United Kingdom-based Burned by Design Etsy shop, which crafts each one by hand to order. It's modeled after Darth Vader's iconic mask, with the vents placed at the mouth and holes located at the eyes open to reveal the flames within. The top of the helmet opens up to the grill portion. It can be used as a grill or a wood burner. The grill is about 2.5 feet tall and about 1.5 feet in length and width. It costs $724.97 and takes between 4 and 6 weeks to arrive at your door. Burned by Design has Star Wars lovers who are fans of other characters covered too, with iterations of the wood burner shaped like Boba Fett, a Stormtrooper, the Death Star, and R2-D2. I have to say, this is one of the coolest grills I've ever seen, and I really love how Vader's eyes are all glowing with the flames. It's really pretty sweet. What a fun time to barbecue in your backyard. Metal artist Michael Finney has created some TIE Fighter fire pits. He has a vast collection of metal art handiworks, which includes the Mandalorian helmet, Darth Vader metal vase, and metal sculptures of C-3PO, BB-8, and even Baby Yoda. However, his most popular creations are his badass fire pits welded in the forms of R2-D2, Darth Vader, and TIE Fighters. The TIE Fighters come in 3 versions: the regular TIE Fighter, the TIE X-2 Fighter, and the TIE Interceptor. The standard version features a pair of flat, straight Rebel X-Wings with the main body serving as the fire pit. Most of them sit on the ground on the wings, but there are versions that have a stand, which look really cool as well. Finney is putting them up for sale, and you can get details and see more images of the very cool TIE Fighter fire pits on his Instagram, at Finney_metalart. Check them out. Timothy Zahn announces attendance at Star Wars Celebration Anaheim. The legendary author will be at Star Wars Celebration again this year. It's always good to have Timothy Zahn. He's one of the greatest. Think Mara Jade and so many wonderful stories he made in the expanded universe. It's really a shame that Disney does not get it and doesn't have someone like Timothy Zahn writing stories for Star Wars. Instead, they'd rather retcon everything with Project Luminous. Hopefully Disney one day will learn. I guess if they lose enough money, they'll finally figure it out. Either way, it's always good that real Star Wars is still around and that someone like Timothy Zahn is still reaching out to the fans and attending these events. He was a huge part of Star Wars lore, and I'm just glad to see that he'll be around. Zahn's next Star Wars novel, Thrawn Ascendancy, Chaos Rising, goes on sale October 6, 2020. Be sure to check that out. Star Wars Celebration Anaheim takes place from August 27th through 30th at the Anaheim Convention Center. Star Wars rumors. Recently, I keep seeing a lot of speculation of Solo returning in various projects. Something that has been trending a lot lately and people have been asking for is a Solo 2 movie. Why anybody would want this, I have no idea. Nobody really liked that movie. Obviously, the box office spells that right out. I can't imagine that Disney would even take the risk, considering it is the least profitable movie in the entire history of Star Wars. Hashtag Solo lost money. Lots of money. Nobody wanted the first Solo. I can't even imagine why anybody would want the second one. Although I have been seeing people calling for it, which is just insane. With that said, there's a lot of rumors swirling that Solo may be a Solo 2, and there's also rumors of Solo appearing in The Mandalorian. Apparently Disney wants him to somehow show up in The Mandalorian, as well as Luke Skywalker. I think that is a huge mistake, but Disney seems to strive on making mistakes in Star Wars, so we'll see what they do. I can't say that it can't happen. It's just something right up their alley that they would do. So stupid. In line with that, last week I reported on J.D. Dillard and his new Star Wars movie. As I clarified in that report, Exegol is not the location or the topic of that movie. However, the latest rumor is that it will be a Lando Calrissian spinoff. I don't know anybody that really wants this either. I think this is treading on Solo territory and would just be another huge mistake. But it would make sense to give Dillard, who has very little experience, a spin-off movie, and I can totally see Disney here playing the angle of, see, we're diverse. We have a black Star Wars film, a black director with a black main actor playing a black main character. So between Disney's lunacy and their diversity pitch, I could totally see this one happening. Again, I want to stress this is a rumor, but it does make sense that Dillard would do a Lando Calrissian spinoff. Keep your eyes and ears open, as it is rumored that it will be announced March 11th during the Disney Plus Europe launch. It is also presumed that the version of Lando will be the Donald Glover version, a young version of Lando Calrissian, not the older version. This can very much coincide with Solo, whether it be a Solo 2 or bringing them all into Mandalorian. I could see them doing that, bringing them both in the Falcon into the Mandalorian. I really think they need to keep the two worlds separate. The Mandalorian already has enough problems, and now bringing in OT characters is just going to really screw up and retcon a lot of stuff. We'll see what happens. I hope that Jon Favreau has more sense than that. Also in the rumor mill, working titles have been released for Cassian Andor and Obi-Wan. Cassian Andor's code name is White Snake, and the Obi-Wan Kenobi series working title is Pilgrim. A lot of people have been reading into the Pilgrim title, assuming that that means he's going to be now traveling all over the galaxy. People need to understand, Obi-Wan went to Tatooine, he became a hermit, and that's where he stayed. He was not traveling around the galaxy. He had to keep an eye on Luke Skywalker as he promised, and he also couldn't bring attention to himself or to Tatooine. I think people need to get over this. If the canceled Obi-Wan show does come back, and that's a big if, people have to realize he's going to be on Tatooine. Unless, of course, Disney wants to totally retcon that as well and have him bouncing all over the galaxy, which will be an even bigger mess. Keep in mind, the original Star Wars was called Blue Harvest. Blue Harvest has absolutely nothing to do with Star Wars. These are just working titles. Pilgrim does not indicate that Obi-Wan is a pilgrim. So I wish people would stop speculating that he's going to be traveling all over the place, because he's not. Furthermore, pilgrim can also be interpreted as a settler. So it doesn't mean that him being a pilgrim is going to have him going everywhere. It could very easily mean he's going to settle on Tatooine, which is what he should do. Yes, I would love the adventures of Obi-Wan, but you have to respect A New Hope. And if Obi-Wan's floating around the galaxy on adventures, it screws up A New Hope. The priority is the original lore, not a Disney Plus show having Obi-Wan frolicking around. Again, with Disney, anything's possible, but I wouldn't read too much into Pilgrim because it's just a working title. I want to really make the point here, though, that Whitesnake and Pilgrim are just to get you hyped are just to make you believe, oh, see, the shows are happening. They have working titles. And it's all a lie. Both of those shows have been canceled until further notice. They're being totally reworked, and this is just a way to get you hyped up and give you hope. If there was anything really going on, they would give you the actual title, not the working title. They would announce who's the actors or characters in the show. They would say, hey, the scripts are done. Or better yet, they would actually start filming. And none of that is happening because both shows are canceled. They're not going to happen. And they are just playing with you, trying to get you confident that, oh, look, they're still doing it. They're giving us names. Don't buy into Disney's nonsense. These are just names they're throwing out there to make you not panic. Disney does not have anything solid in the works outside of The Mandalorian. They are just up in the air with what to do. They're focused on comic books that retcon the lore of Star Wars. There's no new games coming. There's not any movies at least until 2022. And they are just trying to hold on to your fandom so that you don't panic. Don't buy into these rumors with these titles because there is nothing happening with Cassian or Obi-Wan as they don't even have scripts for these shows. Another rumor that has been swirling for a few days now is that James Mangold, Robert Rodriguez, and Bryce Dallas Howard would be directing episodes of The Mandalorian Season 2. On February 29th, Ron Howard tweeted, The Mandalorian Season 2, James Mangold, Robert Rodriguez to direct parts, Bryce Dallas Howard to return, IGN. I don't know what happened to IGN. I came across IGN when they were a very new site. They used to do Babe of the Week and Classic Babe of the Day and all that kind of stuff. They have really turned into a bunch of knuckleheads over there at IGN. They don't proofread their stuff, and for years, they just make up stories. They do get exclusives, they do get insider access to things, but they also love to generate news. It's a shame that IGN has changed so much. With that said, Robert Rodriguez, nobody has any clue. That is pure speculation. It would be interesting to see him direct an episode, but we have no clue. Bryce Dallas Howard. It wouldn't surprise me. She did an episode in season 1, so it wouldn't surprise us if she came back for another episode. However, as everyone mentions, she did the weakest episode of season 1. So I wouldn't be too excited to see Bryce Dallas Howard again. And it has nothing to do with her being female, because the same consensus is that Deborah Chow made the best episodes of The Mandalorian. Bryce just didn't do a very good job. James Mangold. As you can see here, I retweeted him replying to Ron Howard. Hey Ron, I'm so pleased if it's true about Bryce directing another part of Mandalorian, but I can tell you it's not true about me. Not doing it, never discussed it, and I suggest fans should look at who's reporting this and make a note that these sites present conjecture as fact. And it's true. You can't just believe all this stuff that you see on Twitter or in these articles. You have to do some research for yourself. You have to check these sources. And that's something that I promise you guys I always do. I backtrack. I cross-check. If I report something, it's because it's happened. I don't like to speculate. I don't like to just make things up. If it's a rumor, I will tell you. Know that Not My Star Wars will always tell you the truth. IGN, on the other hand, can't even spell properly. The Mandalorian star Giancarlo Esposito believes Moff Gideon could come to the light. Here's an interesting quote from Giancarlo at the Fan Expo Vancouver 2020. I love the villains because they could possibly be redeemed as really being good human beings. Moff Gideon is someone who is basically a warden of one of the planets, or one of the galaxies, that are given to Moffs to oversee so that people don't overrun and take people out. He's sort of a warden, but Moff Gideon, my Moff, is the top warden. So he could be there to change things for the better. Even though he's not approved by everyone, they will see him having done so. So I love the villain because there's room to grow. There's room for the dark to come to the light. And I love that people love the villains because villains can be redeemed. There's something that they really want. And I think Moff Gideon in the end wants to see our universe survive. Let's talk about this. First of all, he has exposed that he is the boss of bosses. Second, since when does the Empire do anything nice or good? He is an Imperial Moff. So it's very hard for me to believe that he's going to look out for people and take care of things and make things better. That's a total contradiction. You're with the Empire. Maybe in his eyes, he thinks he's doing better, as most villains do. but it's a total contradiction to say that a Moff is going to do for the people or the galaxy. There's a huge issue here with Disney that pretends that villains can just, at a snap of a finger, be redeemed. No, Kylo Ren, the guy that killed millions, harassed and stalked Rey, does not get to be redeemed. Just because he's Han and Leia's son does not mean that he gets to be good. Even Darth Vader did not get redeemed. Yes, Darth Vader in the end turned back to the light. Yes, he killed the Emperor, and he helped save the galaxy. And throughout history, he's known for that. People will remember that and acknowledge that. But it's not like Darth Vader was going to end up on Endor or in the Rebel base and be like, hey guys, I'm good now, so don't mind all the people I killed and all the things that I did, because I'm Anakin now, I'm all good. It's not how it works. You can't just... Imagine Charles Manson just saying like, hey, I've turned to the light, guys. It's all good. Are you going to bring him into your home? Are you going to let him out into society just because he committed a good act? Was his soul redeemed? Sure, Darth Vader turned to the light. Nobody's arguing that. But you can't pretend that in society and in the galaxy that he's going to be redeemed. No more than Rey can pretend that Kylo Ren is now Ben Solo. It's not how it works. You can't just be redeemed after you've done so much evil. And it's not that Moff Gideon is just portraying something or kind of bad. He literally tries to kill all of them in The Mandalorian. And he's after Baby Yoda. It's obvious that he does not have good intentions. In his mind, like most villains, he may think he's doing good. But this whole Disney thing of you can do whatever and then just be redeemed, it doesn't work that way. You can't terrorize millions of people, take millions of lives, and just be redeemed. It's not how it works. Not on Earth and not in Star Wars. Kylo, Darth Vader, these guys can't just say, I'm good now, and show up at a family picnic. It's not how this thing works. It's concerning that the Mandalorian is going to go here if this is true, and that Moff Gideon somehow is now going to be redeemed when he is obviously trying to kill people and is not just a boss, but the boss, the warden of wardens in the Empire. You don't get to that position by being a nice guy. Mark my words, season 1 of The Mandalorian had a lot of problems. And now that they've sucked you in, and now that you trust in the show, season 2 is going to start pulling stuff out of the bag, and it's going to start falling apart real fast. It's not what you think. They are baiting you, and things are about to get real crazy with The Mandalorian. I'm not arguing that it's a fun show. I'm not telling you not to watch it or that it should go away. But just be aware that season 1 has 10 million holes in it, and season 2 is going to start introducing politics and diversity and all these little things that Disney likes to do. Now to the best part. Disney retconning itself. February 26, StarWars.com. Jody Houser on bringing Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker to comics. The writer of the upcoming miniseries talks about the art of adaptation, adding deleted scenes, and more. In Lucas's era, he would make very thorough stories that often, for some people's taste, overly explain things. But you didn't leave Star Wars with questions as to how things work. What you left with was so much joy that you wanted more story. You wanted more elaboration. But you didn't leave these movies confused. Sure, you didn't know everything in A New Hope that you then later learned in Empire and that you later learned in Jedi. But eventually, the saga closed the loop. The same thing with the prequels, and then as a whole, 1 through 6. All of it had continuity and explained what was going on. You didn't have to buy the expanded universe. You bought it because you loved Star Wars that much, and because legendary authors like Timothy Zahn were creating beautiful characters and beautiful stories. They didn't retcon things. They didn't try to rewrite history or change the movies. They played off of the movies. In this Disney era, everything is about selling you books and comics and toys and everything else. The movies with great purpose don't tell you anything, so that you must buy the visual guide and the novel and all these comics to understand what the hell is going on. As of now, it appears there will not be deleted scenes on the Blu-ray of The Rise of Skywalker. Why? Because they're putting all the deleted scenes in books for you to have to buy. Instead of showing you what mattered and would explain things in the movie, you must buy DLC. Being a part of this tradition for the last Skywalker saga film is a huge honor. It also means a lot personally, as this is my second adaptation of a Star Wars movie. The author says, I think one of the greatest things about adaptations in other mediums is you do get the chance to build out elements of the story there may not have been time or a place for on the screen. Giving light to new scenes gives the creators in these other mediums a chance to add to the story rather than just translating it for the page. I think I'm more excited about some of the new things we're adding, including expanding moments from the movie with elements we didn't get to see on screen. Written by Jody Houser, the 5-issue miniseries will include scenes not seen in theaters. So rather than giving you the story in the movies, they purposely leave all these holes so that you have to come and buy the extra media. Something that Lucasfilm does not seem to understand is that we're not interested in buying extra media, especially in this digital era. Comic books, those things have declined. Yes, there's a lot of people that love to read. I'm up anytime for a good Star Wars story, novel, comic, what have you. But none of us are going to buy your stuff to try to understand what the movies were. Not when for 35 years we never had to do that. We only bought the expanded universe because we love Star Wars. It was so well done and we wanted more. People think that it's exciting that there's all these new comics and stuff going on. That's going to wear off real quick when you're realizing you have to buy all this stuff just to know what the hell is going on in the movies. From the Visual Dictionary, written by Pablo Hidalgo, someone that has been at Lucasfilm for many years and is totally clueless as to what the hell Star Wars is. What a shame. As the First Order merges with the resources of the Sith Eternal on Exegol, we see a fuller picture of Palpatine's contingency plans, the decades-long preparations for the Final Order. This has so many problems. First of all, when J.J. wrote The Force Awakens, he made it very clear there are no Sith, and that Kylo Ren is not a Sith. It is clearly stated in interviews and in the Visual Dictionary for The Force Awakens. So they are retconning themselves because there are no Sith. The Sith ended with Emperor Palpatine dying in The Return of the Jedi. If the Sith Eternal are a bunch of spirits, where are they getting money from? How are they recruiting people? And if they're so powerful as to be creating this massive Final Order, why are they hiding on Exegol and not just going out and assisting the First Order or just taking over the galaxy themselves? Why are they hiding out for decades, waiting for Kylo Ren, who the whole time is just being manipulated by a clone? Their own stories don't align with themselves. The Sith Eternal were created at the last minute to coincide with the last minute bringing in Emperor Palpatine. And they just need to make up new things on top of new things to patch up hole after hole after hole. On Pasaana, the Burning Man event in the Rise of Skywalker, Poe hotwires one of the little transports to run away from the "they fly now" troopers. Apparently, the grandson of the owner of that skimmer that gets hotwired and taken by Poe and crew had the governor removed by his grandson, and therefore it was faster. So what a coincidence that the one skimmer that Poe goes up to hotwire now has a higher top speed. What a convenient thing. And by the way, a dust farmer on Pasaana. We're now farming dust in Star Wars. Just to think about that. A dust farmer. While Luke's life was not glamorous, it certainly makes sense to harvest and farm moisture. We all need moisture, but you're farming dust on Pasaana. This is the logic of Disney and Lucasfilm in 2020. Harvesting dust. This one is great. You'll love this. Back when he was FN 2187, Finn was stationed aboard Kylo Ren's flagship, the Finalizer. When he freed Poe Dameron and escaped in a stolen TIE fighter, Finn might have considered that his final time aboard that Star Destroyer. But sometime after the Battle of Crate, and before the events of the Rise of Skywalker, Finn returned to the Finalizer. This time as an undercover spy in stormtrooper armor, and his actions as a resistance agent aboard his old posting helped to put a nail in the Finalizer's coffin. Whatever he did on that mission, the Finalizer ended up over Batuu and so badly damaged by the Resistance that Kylo Ren moved his command to another Star Destroyer, the Steadfast, which had disastrous consequences for General Hux. Allegiant General Enric Pride commands the Steadfast, given to him by Snoke 6 years prior, and named for Pride's previous command, an Imperial Star Destroyer lost at Jakku. That means Hux is a general without a ship, and now a more junior member of the Supreme Council, with his career on the rocks after the loss of Starkiller Base and the Finalizer. Where exactly did Finn get a stormtrooper outfit? Yes, he had his original when he defected, but that was a long time ago. In Force Awakens, he hasn't had his stormtrooper suit in forever. Okay, let's just say the rebellion got a hold of her stormtrooper outfit. Here's my favorite part. Whatever he did on that mission, the Finalizer ended up over Batuu and was so badly damaged. This just goes to show Lucasfilm and even Pablo himself don't even know the story, don't even know what they're making up. They're just literally throwing stuff out there to cover holes without really explaining anything. Whatever he did on that mission, we don't know what he did. Pablo has no clue what he actually did, but we'll just say that before the Rise of Skywalker, he went and blew up Hux's ship, and then that way, Hux looks like a fool and gets demoted, and that's why we have to introduce Pride, and Hux ends up being a traitor and a spy, and they kill Hux. Instead of just making Hux a strong general like he was in the beginning, they went through all this mess for Finn to do whatever he did on some mission to destroy the Finalizer. Literally, Kylo Ren's flagship. Kylo Ren didn't sense Finn. Nobody saw him. He just did whatever in some mission and screwed up Kylo's main ship and screwed up General Hux's entire career. Which furthermore, in The Rise of Skywalker, Hux tells Finn and Poe that he's the spy, and he saves them so that they can escape. Now, why would you save the guy that came on your ship, blew up your ship, got you demoted and embarrassed, and now everybody looks at you like a fool? Why would you help him? You see how they don't think things through? Just fill holes. The Endor system is explained. With the addition, keyword, addition of Kef Bir as another of Endor's moons, and the one that ended up housing a chunk of the second Death Star's debris, it's time to sort out how the Endor system is arranged. So let's, from the very beginning, read what Star Wars themselves are saying with the addition of Kef Bir. Why are they adding Kef Bir? Because it never existed. It was the forest moon of Endor. We all saw the Death Star explode and vaporize. There are no debris, and there is no Kef Bir. They just made it up for the Rise of Skywalker. Why? Because they brought Palpatine back, and they had to then invent his granddaughter. And so therefore you had to kill her parents with a knife, and that knife had to match the debris of the Death Star so that you could find a holocron, and find the Emperor on Exegol. You see what happens when you lie and you make things up? Now you have to fill in all these holes and make up 16 other stories to fix the first story, instead of just writing a good story to begin with, or keeping Rian Johnson from killing your big bad in the second movie. That's what happens when you don't plan out your movies. You have to now invent Kef Bir so that you can accommodate the Death Star's debris. Why didn't they just use Wicket's moon? Well, because we all know that if the debris of the Death Star even existed and it landed on the moon that Wicket and his fellow Ewoks were on, that would totally destroy the environment. Therefore, that would kill all the Ewoks and change history. So what did they do? They created a new moon so that the Death Star's debris could land on it. But even they screwed that up, because the Orbaks, the space horses, which by the way, horses are from Earth, not Star Wars, not dinosaurs either. The space horses aren't even native to Kef Bir. They are apparently brought there from somewhere else. Yet somehow there's horses, there's wildlife on this planet. How are the Orbak surviving on a planet that should have been totally destabilized by the debris of the Death Star? By fixing the problem of the debris landing on Wicket's moon, they created a new moon, but that also would have the same problem as Wicket's moon, and they once again did not think it through. They just said, well, we'll just create a new moon and throw the Death Star there, and nobody's going to notice or care. But then you screwed yourselves up, because not only is the environment not destabilized, but you've got living beings there. You've got Jaina and her little crew, and you've got Orbaks running around. around. And for both of those to be able to survive on that destabilized moon, it couldn't have been struck by the Death Star's debris that never existed in the first place, because the Death Star was evaporated along with the Emperor, who shouldn't be in this movie to begin with. Thus, you don't need debris of the Death Star to match up with the knife for the granddaughter to find Palpy-Palps. Do you see the hole that they have dug for themselves, that they have to create more and more and more to fix their stories? If you look at the last part of this paragraph on StarWars.com, it even says, but with even some of the mysteries of the Endor system put to rest, not really, new mysteries appear. Orboks are not native to Kef Bir, yet were there to be tamed when Jaina and Company 77 arrived, looking to hide from the First Order. How long have they been there in the wild? And how did they survive the ecological disaster that would have come with the crash landing of sections of the Death Star? Right here, in this very paragraph, they are retconning themselves. They don't even think when they write this stuff. If there was an ecological disaster, there can't be the Orboks, nor can there be Jaina and them surviving there. The planet would be in total disarray. Even if it was stable enough, let's say weather-wise and environment-wise, there would be no plant life, no food, nothing. There wouldn't be that ocean. It would all be in disarray. I have not read the visual dictionary. I am going by the nonsense that they give us. So I don't know if these two questions are being presented as, well, you have to pick up the visual dictionary to get the answers, or if they're open-ended questions like, well, we don't really know. They tell us that Kef Bir was there, as the new moon for the debris of the Death Star, but they never explain how long the Orboks were there. At some point, I'm going to look at this visual dictionary and get a good grasp at all the nonsense that they're doing. But it goes to show you in their own paragraph, on their own website, they retcon themselves. How far has Star Wars fallen? It's unbelievable. Here's another brilliant retcon by Disney and Lucasfilm. In the Clone Wars cartoon, Lama Su and Shaak Ti have an interaction. Lama Su: I understand your concern, Master Jedi. Ever since the death of Jango Fett, we have had to stretch his DNA to produce more clones. Shaak Ti: a Jedi does not feel concerned, Lama Su. However, I have noticed this unit of clones have been, Lama Su, deficient. My only thought is for you to search the galaxy and find a suitable donor for future clones. Shaak Ti: and what have the clones produced so far? Lama Su: as you know, there is no one way to make a clone. Sometimes our efforts are less than successful. Here's where the problem occurs. Try to follow along as it gets a bit complicated. Clones grow at twice the rate, so a clone must be grown for 10 years for it to be mature. At that point, it is 20 years old and ready for battle. Jango is killed right at the beginning of the Clone Wars. Therefore, any new clones that they would make would have to wait 10 years. The Clone Wars was only 3 years long. This presents a problem, because then how did we get Clone 99 and the Bad Batch? They wouldn't have happened because as the Clone Wars just begun and Jango was just killed, they would still have fresh DNA from Jango. So it wouldn't make sense for there to be bad clones when they still have the DNA of Jango. Later, this would become a problem, and Lama Su is giving Shaak Ti advice to find a new donor for the future. But timeline-wise, this would be a problem as the Clone Wars only lasted 3 years, and Jango had just died. The clones that were already in development would be fine, as would any clones in the very near future. It would be, over time, their DNA would dwindle, and then they would start to have anomalies like the Bad Batch. Domino Squad is another example. They were having trouble completing their training, but that doesn't fit in the timeline because they would have been created 10 years before when Jango was still very much alive. If they were using DNA that was dwindled down from when Jango died, those clones wouldn't even be ready for 10 years from Attack of the Clones. The Clone Wars would have finished 7 years prior. You can't have Bad Batch, you can't have 99, and you can't have Domino because it doesn't fit in the timeline. Once again, Disney does not pay attention to their own stories. They retcon themselves constantly. What they tried to do is create an explanation because in Dark Empire, there was a problem with clones. Palpatine had cloned himself, but he had a constant problem of these clones deteriorating, so he had to constantly switch his essence from one clone to another. Dave Filoni and Disney thought they were clever by creating this story of Jango's DNA being gone, so now clones were becoming defective. But once again, Jango just died, and the Clone Wars was over within a few years after his death, so there would have never been an opportunity for the Bad Batch to exist, as there was still fresh DNA away from Jango Fett. Any defective clones would have taken 10 years to reach maturity, and that's when you would have had something like Bad Batch. But the Clone Wars would have been long over by then, and clones were done away with after the Clone Wars. So the whole premise of these mutated or defective clones doesn't even fit. Which brings us to the very last piece of news. Star Wars confirms Palpatine was a clone in Rise of Skywalker. The novelization of Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, finally reveals the truth about how Palpatine survived. He was a clone. While the novelization won't be available until March 17th, Lucasfilm had sold some copies at C2E2 in Chicago. Therefore, some people have been showing excerpts of the book. Two things in the novel, amongst other deleted scenes and information, are that Reylos is a thing and that the Emperor was a clone. He was passing his spirit from clone to clone. Quote, all the vials were empty of liquid save one, which was nearly depleted. Kylo peered closer. He'd seen this apparatus before, too, when he'd studied the Clone Wars as a boy. The liquid flowing into the living nightmare before him was fighting a losing battle to sustain the Emperor's putrid flesh. What could you give me? Kylo asked. Emperor Palpatine lied after a fashion, and Kylo could feel in his very bones that this clone body sheltered the Emperor's actual spirit. It was an imperfect vessel, though, unable to contain his immense power, it couldn't last much longer. So they are playing off the Dark Empire from the expanded universe, where Palpatine would move his spirit from one clone to another. They also are taking the premise of that the clones were unstable, so he would have to constantly move around from cloned host body to host body. This creates several problems. As we all know, Palpatine was already dead. Second, Disney themselves claimed that all the expanded universe is dead and not canon. Yet here we go once again, them going back into the expanded universe to now try to make things canon. You can't have it both ways. In The Rise of Skywalker, they claim that Palpatine was cloning Snoke. So then why didn't he have 1,000 Snokes terrorizing the galaxy? Because obviously they didn't think it through. They threw in Palpatine at the last moment. Furthermore, while cloning works, we all know that. One small problem. You can't clone Force users. If you could, Palpatine back in Episode 3 would have simply have clones of Maul, Vader, Asajj Ventress, and all kinds of Force users. The Jedi might have even experimented as well. There would literally be 10,000 Darth Mauls all over the place terrorizing people. Why weren't there? Because you can't clone Force users. Therefore, you cannot clone Snoke. The Dark Empire story and also The Rise of Skywalker showed that you could make clones of Palpatine's body and he could transfer his spirit one at a time, but you couldn't clone Force users. So how would Snoke be a clone? Did Snoke know how to transfer his spirit? If he did, then why, when Kylo chops him in half, did he not transfer his spirit to one of his other clones? Oopsie. Lucasfilm simply does not think things through. They create more holes on top of the holes that they already have. This is a very lame excuse at bringing Palpatine back and now trying to explain it. They should have never introduced him in the first place, and now they can't even come up with a good explanation. Let's take a quick look at the nonsense that is Ray Carson's novelization of The Rise of Skywalker. And he was about to do something he'd never done before. Fortunately, Rey had shown him how to give. Ben poured everything into her. He found reservoirs he didn't know he had. He gave her his whole self. Up until that moment, Ben didn't even know that he could do that. It just was in the spur of the moment that he's going to give her his life. Her diaphragm rose with the breath, and her warm hand covered his. His eyes lit up. Rey seemed surprised to see him. She sat up, but she didn't draw away. They stared at each other a moment. He waited for her to understand what had just happened. It would be okay if she left him behind now, got on with her life without a backward glance at him. It's what she should do. Instead, she smiled and she whispered, Ben. She was glad to see him, glad to be with him in this moment. It was the greatest gift she could have given him. His heart was full as Rey reached for his face, let her fingers linger against his cheek, and then, wonder of wonders, she leaned forward and kissed him, a kiss of gratitude.
A joke. I do not believe this is happening. I'm literally about to fucking kill myself, and I'm not kidding. You better fucking fix this shit right now. I literally am gonna die. I need an ambulance. I can't believe.
Acknowledgement of their connection, celebration that they'd found each other at last. But then she drew back, concern on her face. She could feel him growing cold. Ben smiled at her. He had given Rey back to the galaxy. It wouldn't atone for the darkness he'd wrought, but it was what he could do. Ben Solo had no regrets as he collapsed to the ground. So the granddaughter of Emperor Palpatine has a connection with the grandson of Anakin Skywalker. This is what Disney has created. It doesn't make any sense. The ultimate good and the ultimate evil are now a connection and shared a romantic moment. Have you guys really thought this through? Have Reylos really thought this through? That a man that terrorized this girl and the galaxy is now her love? The girl who had felt alone for all those years on Jakku had been part of a dyad the whole time. And just when she discovered that precious connection, that incredible oneness, it was ripped away. A voice came to her through the Force, clear and strong. "I will always be with you," Ben said. She smiled. Let the truth of it wash over her. "No one's ever really gone," she whispered. She retrieved her lightsabers and sprinted from the ruined cathedral. The moment Rey came back to herself, Finn knew. He launched himself out of the turret seat. No one was pursuing them anyway. Climbed the ladder and sprinted for the cockpit. "Chewie, I felt her," he said. Chewie roared. Something about wishful thinking and he should be back at the turret watching their backs. "I'm certain of it," Finn said, scanning the horizon.
Red 5 is in the air. Rey's alive.
And that will do it for Star Wars news this week. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the video.